Will Ragatz with Vikings on SI here at US Bank Stadium after the Vikings suffered their first loss of the season in a thrilling game against the Detroit Lions that really lived up to the billing and all the hype this week as one of the biggest games of the season between two of the best teams in the league. This was a roller coaster game. The Vikings came out right away, punched first like they've done just about every week this season, and took a 10-0 lead within the first 10 minutes of the game. But it wasn't going to be easy against this Lions team that's just very good, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They ripped off 3 straight touchdown drives in the second quarter to go into halftime up 21-10. The Vikings responded in the third quarter, got a Justin Jefferson touchdown to cut it back to 4, and then the Lions had their 4th consecutive long touchdown drive where the Vikings defense just really seemed to have no answers. They couldn't stop the run. They're giving up wide open completions over the middle of the field, and the Lions were up 28-17. And then it got really good from there with the Vikings kicking a couple field goals to get into a 5-point game. They finally were able to get a few stops. Jonathan Gennard had a sack, Andrew Van Ginkel had a sack, and Ivan Pace Jr. had what looked like maybe a game-winning fumble return for a touchdown that Josh Metellus forced. US Bank Stadium was going crazy. The Vikings were up 29-28, but they missed the 2-point conversion following the Pace touchdown, kept it at a 1-point game, and then they get the ball back after another stop, go 3 and out. That was really key. They weren't able to take advantage of that opportunity to put the game away, and they needed one more stop from their defense, and that was just asking an awful lot against this Lions offense. They moved the ball into field goal range, kick a game-winning field goal with 15 seconds left, and the Vikings still sort of had one last chance. They got the ball. They were able to get a completion and get the ball spiked with 1 second on the clock from midfield, but an illegal formation penalty for only having 6 guys on the line of scrimmage pushed them back to their own 45. Kevin O'Connell said after the game that he would have tried a 68-yard field goal with Will Reichard for the win if they hadn't had that penalty. But from 73, that was just a little bit too much. That's 7 yards longer than the all-time NFL record of 66 yards. So they went for the Hail Mary. Darnold was sacked, and the result is that the Vikings' perfect season has come to an end. There's a lot to clean up and a lot to talk about in this game. The Vikings had a lot of self-inflicted wounds. Darnold threw a pick. There were pre-snap penalties, things like that. Obviously, they didn't execute well on defense for those 4 consecutive Lions touchdowns. But I think overall, it's not a loss that you have to be super discouraged by or anything like that. The Lions are one of the best teams in the league. They might have the best offense in the league. The Vikings hung with them until quite literally the final second of the game, lose by 2 points. Yes, it's at home, and it's frustrating for sure for the Vikings, for fans, because of the fact that this was a winnable game. But I don't think it's like suddenly things are kind of falling apart. This team has a chance to bounce back on a short week. They'll go to LA to face the Rams on Thursday Night Football, so a chance to get this taste out of their mouths quickly. And it's a long season. The Vikings, the schedule is going to open up a little bit, starting with this Rams game. They just played, a bunch of very good teams. The Lions, before the bye, it was the Jets and the Packers and the Texans and the 49ers. Like, this was a tough part of the schedule for the Vikings to be 5-1. They're still in a really good spot. They'll have a chance to stack some wins against, not quite as difficult opponents. And then if this thing plays out like it looks like it could, the Vikings and Lions, that rematch in Detroit in Week 18, there could be a lot on the line for that game. So I don't think the Vikings need to panic. I think they just need to clean some things up, execute better on offense, avoid all the self-inflicted wounds, figure some things out on defense as well, because they gave up a lot of yards in this game. But it's still a defense that finds ways to make plays week in and week out. It's an offense where, Darnold, outside of the pick, he played pretty well, threw for about 260, had the touchdown to Jefferson. Aaron Jones recovered from the hamstring injury, had another big game. It's still a well-coached team, a very talented team that looks like it's going to be in the mix this season, and we'll see what they do, with the trade deadline coming up in a couple of weeks. But a tough loss for the Vikings. They weren't going to go 17-0 inevitably, and the Lions are a very good team. So, there's a lot to discuss from this game, a lot to fix, and that's what the Vikings will try to do starting on this short week ahead of Thursday night.